order. And I think we have a quorum. Only one missing, only two missing are Asha and Melissa.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Alyssa.
And I will point out, speaking of rules, that we do have a rule for 3 unexcused consecutive absences from the board. One of these people has missed 2.
Were they excused though?
Hmm?
Were they excused? Who, it
Well-
has to be the president that does the excusing. I don't know how, I asked this because I don't know.
Well, it really is not addressed.
It's just 3,
You know, I don't know that it's something we need to get too pedantic about.
Mhm.
I think that I will probably have a talk with a person
Mhm.
and see what
She should call in.
their intents
She should please
are.
call in and
Now, during when we were doing the garage meetings and stuff, that's a little different, because we know that was not the normal process and it was not the normal schedule, and so there were conflicts with home care and other stuff, so I don't count those. But I think our normal, regular meetings, we should at least let us know. But anyway, okay. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from last month?
I move that we approve the minutes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Carries. Jeff. My remarks are basically to discuss our great debt of gratitude to this guy, who for a long time as a paid participant did all of our paving, planning, and all that stuff, and supervised some other major road projects. And he's refused to get paid, but he refuses to quit. He's helped us immeasurably on a couple recent things, like the surf drive thing there. He saved us a bundle of money on that by getting another contractor. And he's done a few other things around here. So in lieu of, you want to accept payment, I guess you're afraid the tax thing's going to kill your, the tax rates are going to go up.
I don't want to declare anything.
Yeah. So anyway, this is, we'd like to present this to you.
Well, thank you very much.
With our thanks, and
I appreciate it. Thanks very much. I mean, I've enjoyed working with Trump Point all these years. I enjoy working with the board and with the property owners around. It's been, yeah, it's hard to walk away from, you know, and like I've been telling Rhea, you know, I know it's a difficult transition at this point, trying to get somebody to replace me, and I don't like leaving you in a lurch, but I'm more than happy to, you know, do some, you know, consultation, you know, give advice and stuff, at least while I'm able, as I'm able, you know, until there's somebody that might be able to fill my shoes.
yeah, we're working on Chris, and if that doesn't work, we'll keep pushing for something else. But we appreciate your help. There is a leash in there, by the way, in the package.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you right back.
I only have 2 observations.
Yeah.
In his remarks, Jeff said he enjoyed working with many property owners. He didn't say
All, that's where you are.
There's always a few.
It's very diplomatic.
And then he said someone to replace him. That's the wrong verb. It's to succeed. It's not replace.
Okay, very
Because you
good.
were irreplaceable. So that is the reason you're here, Jeff. We don't really have any questions for you.
Oh.
And on the storm for nothing, I don't know.
Well,
It was a lie, I don't know.
We did have
My last one.
Yep.
We did have something.
Do you want me to
that came up
close
in our
this, or
discussion.
you want to open it,
Once the
or?
mayor
We
comes
were
in.
gonna ask Jeff about
And he did. He actually provided, had already provided
an update.
an update, and that is where I got the number.
Okay.
budget.
Okay,
So that would be this year's and then the two next.
okay.
And I had, then, I don't know if that's the one that I sent
This
you
is the
later
one you just-
today. Right, I updated it a little bit further, in that,
Everybody has it.
in year 2022, there was a much lower, figure, for that paving year, which included, Mill Creek and Calvert and all up in that top area up through there.
Yeah.
But because it was so low, if you wanted to include Valerie, and I just made a note on there, if you just wanted to, that would be a good time to do that because it's closest to it, and it's all the way up there by CRE entrance. Yeah, you can play things around and make it work for the budget. And see, you know, that.
And you're welcome to stay if you want. Or also,
Oh, yeah.
if you want to escape,
No, he's just
you
got
can
to
do
do
that.
for a whole
But I
day.
did one other question, and it would sort of come under the normal discussion on our roads and so forth, but you were involved in giving us some basic suggestions or whatever on property over on Lakeview, the drainage problem.
Yes, yeah.
And then another one on Cardinal,
Cardinal Law.
or Laurel.
Oh, yeah, right, yes.
Do you have anything to add on those?
The only thing I have to add, which I've communicated just verbally with Rita, but I was out at, I had, you know, you heard, got a price from Great Mills, which was ridiculous. I told them don't even bother sending us a proposal, it was straight outrageous. And I do have Southern Maryland Paving coming Thursday
Okay,
to give a price. I went over there today, and I had originally figured that we would do an 8-foot berm. Initially, I was gonna do a 4-foot berm, which is more typical of what, like we did at Tony's. But because of the flatness of everything, I was, and because I didn't really expect Great Mills would come in so high, I gone ahead and widened it to an 8. Well, I shrunk it back to a 4. I painted it today for the guy to see exactly what he needs to do. It's lesser money, I'm hoping, plus it's easier for him to do it being a little bit smaller. Because
Right.
what he's gonna do is, it's gotta be done when he's got another driveway that he's paving.
Yeah, right.
You can't transport a ton of asphalt down the road and keep it cool enough to, you know, place it, you know, all the way down here. The nearest plants are, you know, all the way up, or north of here, well, north of here. So at any rate, he says he's got a lot of work in Lesby. I've never really dealt with Southern Maryland paving, you know, as far as their pricing goes. You know, I've had to do some work, you know, some years ago for some water sewer project I did with the county, but you know, it's a toss-up that they're gonna
Yeah,
come back in now.
They do a lot of work around, you know, a lot of driveway work.
Right,
But
so
I
almost always you're gonna have a ton or two
Yeah.
left over, so it's in their best interest to not throw a too heavy number on us
Right,
and, you know, get it done, you know, but I spoke to the guy again today, and I just reminded him, let him know it was painted already for him to take a look at, and just make sure that, you know, it was something that would need to be
Okay.
tacked first, but anyways, that's everything with that. And Cardinal, the other one, you know, is there, you know, we had done that work. You could do some type of an earthen berm, you know, around that radius, or the homeowner could do it himself.
it looks to me like he's done it.
Oh, he has?
I rode by there the other day, doing a bike ride, and there's a pile of dirt
Great.
right along the side of the road. So I'm assuming that he's done something.
Okay, well, you know, all he needs to do really is just, you know, put some topsoil in there, mound it up so keep the water on the edge of the pavement, it'll get
Right.
down to his driveway and go into that drainage
Yeah.
ditch on the low side of his property, as long as he puts some grass seed on it and gets it and stabilizes it, so it doesn't all wash away.
I don't think we've gotten our lawsuit yet. have we?
Not yet, no, haven't heard problems. But Jeff, would you explain when you put in that email with regard to how the builders, you know, what they're supposed to do in relation to a property that sits below the grade of the road?
Yeah,
And
well, you know.
so why would you one and not the other?
You know, he's not really forced to raise a house up necessarily, but it's always good practice to not leave it where it's in a vulnerable situation to drainage off of the road. Many houses were built that way down here. When you do build a house here, regardless of where it sits, it's supposed to have a foot of fall, 12 feet out, 10 to 12 feet out away from the house, so that you pitches water away from the house, even if it comes up around the house. Most of these houses, perhaps they were done that way when they were built, but over 20, 30 years, people, landscaping, planting, things growing, changes the topography, and erosion can slowly wash away where you don't even necessarily see it, but it happens. So there's a number of houses around here where there's nothing to impede the water to go right up around the foundations, and those are things the homeowners really, it's their responsibility to accept and deal with,
Been there, done that.
And there are certain situations, like this one on Riverview, we did take a little bit of a lip away, but it could have only been about 1.5 inches. And, this little berm's gonna be 3 inches higher than the existing road now, so he's getting additional blockage to divert this water. But he really, and I told him, he made a mistake when he had that driveway paved. It should have been, or the asphalt company, which was Southern Maryland Paving, should have brought it up higher and then brought it down to the road so that wouldn't happen. Because when you get these rains like we've been having in the last few years, these gully washers, there's nothing to slow, 1.5 inches of elevation's not gonna stop a ton of water.
Right.
But, there was a drainage swale, which you saw the emails I cleaned out, and then right now, and I just went by there before I came here, the water's going in there fine. It's gonna be those real monsoon type gully washers that he's gonna have a problem with. But this will solve that 100%, I'm
Good.
sure.
Well, thank you.
But, so, well, hopefully Chris will, I'm just getting a little concerned because it's taking so long. And plus I heard it's before an ethics committee, whether or not it's gonna be something that's gonna be approved. So, I'm starting to lose, faith in the fact that it'll get approved. Although other people within this department, immediate department, have been approved for other second job, businesses, side things, but because it's a, inspections type, thing, that's exactly what he's doing with the county, I think they have some possibility or some, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but, they're looking at it a little bit harder than they have been everybody else, so. I spoke to one individual who's in soils and conservation, he said he didn't think it was gonna happen, but, he doesn't have anything to do with the approval process, that was his own personal opinion.
And you didn't do inspections, I suppose that's.
Well, no, I did,
Oh, you
but
did?
I was
You did ours.
independent,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, well, those inspections, the only reason we had to get an inspection on that pipe was because it was within 100 foot of the
Right.
bay. Typically, if we're working even in the critical area, we don't have to get a county inspector down here to give a final look-see and approval of a project like we did with that. Even though you have a guy on staff who's, doing that work for you. But,
So the concern is maybe that if he was planning a project that was subject to inspection by the county, that the county might look the other way because he's a county guy. Is that the concern, or?
to be honest, I have no idea what the concern is, other than, that he's doing a similar thing that he does for the county, but he's getting paid for it here. And might be some sort of conflict, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but.
Well,
you
we'll track it.
can't second guess the county government
And
sometimes.
if if they have any questions, or he has questions about our insurance coverage that we have and carry, or workman's comp, or anything like that, we can hopefully provide, whatever they need.
Right. Yeah, so, but I'm just getting a little discouraged because it's taking so long. I don't understand why. At first, I figured COVID and people weren't, they were going to tell it, they're working from home and the communication's a little slower sometimes, but, this is a little, inordinately long. So we'll see if, you know, yeah, the longer it takes, the less confidence I have in it, but, I'm hoping maybe we'll hear something definitive in the next week or two. I mean, there's no reason, it's just a decision that needs to be made, it might be sitting on Joanne Norris's desk or something, you know, they might be looking at the legal aspect of it.
It'd be nice if they would at least maybe try to communicate with us if they have any questions or concerns, or if they want clarification or whatever about
Right.
what it entails.
Yeah, I mean, I've communicated, you know, not with the, you know, the people it's with now, but other people, you know, at the, higher up in Public Works, you know, recommending, you know, that, you know, Chris is not a good person for the job, and it would be good for the county, I think, for him to do it. But, you know, they don't necessarily listen.
Okay.
But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So, all right, well, if you don't have any other questions, I'll go out, but I thank you so much for the thoughts and for the gift.
Enjoy.
And yes, I certainly will.
Tell you.
Okay,
Thank you.
and I'll be talking with you again, I'm sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Have a good evening.
You too. You too.
Okay, that was most of my remarks. I will conclude remarks, but I talked to Peter yesterday, and he's about halfway through chemo. It's a very aggressive chemo for that particular cancer. So it's knocking him back, but his attitude is still good. His voice sounded good, strong. Said he's lost weight, and I was going to stop and see him, but he was in the middle of a Geek Squad problem. So I didn't get over there. But anyway, he said they're making it. And he thinks so far he said the prognosis has been good so far with the chemo, so keep our fingers crossed. All right, Rita, office.
Okay, I had to update my QuickBooks, which is required every 3 or 4 years. So that was $399 plus tax. Just did that. I requested from the county special tax district funds the first quarter reimbursement of operating and maintenance expenses in the amount of $32,367, most of which was storm cleanup, snow removal of downed trees, things like that. Haven't gotten that yet, but I think I did just get approval for the work on surf. Great Girls did that, and the amount of $5,900, $5,900, and the county approved that on April 26th, and I sent the bill in, and I think that's transferred to Scott email, saying that we received that. That's it.
Okay. Committee reports, do you have anything else to add to what Bill talked about on the roads or?
Just, not really, you know, we're waiting for Chris Franklin, and,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, no, that's nothing else going on.
Okay. Jared?
Well, thanks to everybody who helped do the budget this week. It's a good exercise for me to go line by line, otherwise I have a marginal understanding of progress anyway. It does help. We do have the new budget here. We just put the last touches on it today. Actually, overall, jumping to the bottom line, it's a little bit smaller than last year's, 438,000 versus 450 last year. And that includes a few new things, like some community beach work. Another possibility would be that lot across the street, to acquire that. So some money will be set aside in case we can do that. Other line items, as you'll see, track really closely to last year. So there's really, I don't think, much news in any of this. The news will be when we have to figure out what to do with, if we decide to go with the beach erosion project, how to finance that. And there is there's a lot of funding available in the special tax district. Unfortunately, we cannot use that for the beach. So Rita and I are looking at every single line to move as much as we can from the mandatory, from the covenant and mandatory assessment into the special tax district. And it's good to keep that, I think, low anyway, so the county doesn't see a large unused amount of money. Especially as, one last point I'll make is we, in the coming year, have to arrange for our next special tax district for the next 5-year period. So we'll be working on that like right away, actually. We had a year, but you informed me
It
that
was last year.
Yeah.
You went by.
we gotta get.
It's been a
cracking.
strange year, so.
So we'll keep everybody informed as we work on the special tax district again.
When do we expect that hearing process to start?
In 6 months. I mean,
Well, the
you
hearing
mean
itself,
The actual
I talked to
commissioners,
Gary, just to find out, how does this get kicked off?
Yeah.
And he said the initial thing to do is send a letter to John Norris, the county attorney, and let him know that we're coming to the end special tax district, we're ready to apply for the next special tax district. I think and then he, I believe then, goes to the commissioners with our request. They put into action holding the public hearing. They put together the letter that goes out to every property owner, which we have to pay the postage on, which you'll see I increased postage here for that. And Jack mentioned it. But it all has to be in place by this time next year, I'd say, because it has to get, well, it has to be approved and in place by this time next year in time for the tax bills to go out, which is just after the fiscal year. So our main issue to work on is the budget itself for the STD. I mean, that's our main focus. Because the agreement itself, I don't know, we need to see if we want to change it, but I don't know that we want to. Gary, didn't recommend that we ought to want to change it. And if we don't make any changes, it's much more likely to just get approved, without any question, because they're the ones that actually,
Except that with some of the newer commissioners, there seemed to be a kind of shift in attitude and
a little bit, yeah.
why
Well, one of the commissioners is
are
sort
we
of.
doing this kind of thing,
Right. Well, true, and,
We may need more justification or something.
well,
I
you
don't
may
know.
need to, what we've done in the past is meet, once we get the budget together, we meet with Robin and her boss, whose name I just can't remember still, to work out the budget and make sure that they feel like it's doable.
Mhm.
And I know in years past, board members, the president, and probably the treasurer have met with commissioners to sit down and see if there's any reason that they would object to it. I will say this, there have been times when the commissioners have said, no, it's good, and then you get there for the day of the public hearing, and suddenly they're
Yeah.
not happy with it. But that really has not happened, to my knowledge. There's been no unhappiness with it since we took all of the admin expenses out. It's all for capital spending, except for the audit, which is required by the STD, so we're allowed to pay for that. Since we moved everything to capital expenses, there have been no complaints. So,
Maybe when you said that some of the commissions, or one of the commissions is just wondering why even do it, do you understand what they're?
I don't recall exactly, it was, I just remember some of the comments about kind of like, why don't these communities do this themselves? Why is the county doing this? Well, the obvious answer is because you set it up that way, and you're not, the tax money that goes into you doesn't come directly to us. You're not maintaining our roads, you're not doing any of this. So that's why
They keep
you
shifting
set it up
costs
this way.
to us.
And there was one commissioner that had he just didn't like the whole idea of the
Right.
STDs. He just
Getting
didn't.
involved that
But
way.
I believe he has changed his
Well,
opinion.
So he was new, I think.
Yeah, it was his first year.
So, do we have, hopefully we have a last time's letter that
Oh, yes.
kicked the process off so
Yes.
we can get going?
And that'll be my next step, is to go through my files and find, you know, the letter that kicks it off and so on. The other thing reason that we have the STD is it makes us FEMA eligible.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Yeah.
that is
Oh,
a
yeah.
big important
Yes,
thing.
that's
Yes,
right.
yes.
You know, $120,000 worth of snow removal, we had 80% reimbursed by the state, or FEMA. So,
Or God forbid a hurricane.
well, yeah,
Texas.
well, Hurricane Isabel in '03 took out the Bay Causeway, and we had 80% of that paid
Right.
for the replacement. So, I mean, it's well worth
Oh my gosh.
our
Yeah.
effort to get it back in place.
Right.
We won't be able to rely on the county for that kind of support, so.
No.
No.
No, not we do it ourselves.
Okay.
It's a big project, and it'll take
Right,
a
right.
better part of a year. So this budget now will go out to the community, and we'll vote on it at the end of, meeting at the end of June,
Right.
just in time for our fiscal year. Hopefully it'll be approved then.
Right, do you need a but doesn't the board have to approve it initially?
Yeah. I mean, okay, so the finance committee submits it to the board.
Yeah.
Okay. So submitted.
Okay. And now the board accepts
Do
it.
we have any discussion or motion to approve or?
I move that we approve the budget, if I can do that, then on finance committee.
I know, I was gonna say, I didn't do it, I'm on the finance committee.
I mean, if somebody else needs to do it.
I'll move to approve.
There you go.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We have approved the budget. Okay. Anything else, Jack?
That's it.
Okay. Right, environment?
Tonight Ginny and I were going to cruise through the various areas of, that Phragmites have been eradicated to determine how much native planting has come back. And obviously, that was gonna be right before this meeting, so we didn't do it, but we will. And the real issue is, we're probably at the point, except maybe Lake Terrace, which was only done last year, where we should see what's come back and what we need to do about it. And we've been talking about different plantings. Tony's front, beachfront is full of an interesting grass that came when he had his Phragmites eradicated. This wonderful dune grass came back, and so I sent.
All by itself.
Oh, by itself. And so I sent an email, a picture of it off to Mark Smith, and I said, what is this? And it's not invasive or anything, but I mean, it's propagating itself very well, so maybe. But he said he thought tall fescue. I said, well, that sounds like a lawn grass. He said, tall fescue is a plant unto itself, and the lawn fescue is a cultivar of that. So were you able to use your app to decide?
I don't have the app, that's
Oh,
my
somebody
friend.
else. Okay. Anyhow, so we were talking about looking at various native plants if we need to propagate it in the area that things aren't coming back. And we'll do it probably next weekend if you're available.
I have the app too.
Oh,
I
okay.
have an app that you can take a picture and it'll tell you what.
I have I can just send you the picture and you can tell me what it is.
Okay.
Anyhow, so Ginny sent out this seminar, 1-hour seminar on insect diversity, and you might think, ew, insects, but it was actually quite interesting. I
That's
watched it this
fascinating.
afternoon, I thought it was very interesting, and it really makes a case for maybe the kinds of native plants we want to look, that we might favor
Mm-hmm.
for this area. And this has to do with bird caterpillars being favored in some of these plantings and birds that feed on caterpillars. I mean, it's a whole chain of things. So it's very interesting. This professor was from the University of Delaware. It was I thought, well worth the time. It was about an hour long, so if you're curious, you might think, oh, what a snooze, but no, it's quite interesting.
I started it, and I ran out of time before
Yeah, yeah.
couldn't finish it all before I had other stuff back.
It's
It was
really-
interesting.
it's
Yeah,
very
I think it moves along
Easy to
really well
follow.
too, he's,
Well, and it really is appropriate for what we're trying to do now, so.
absolutely.
So if anybody else knows of any good native plants that do well in beach and sandy soil and areas where we've eradicated the Phragmites, let us know. Because,
When will we be planting these, do you know?
I really don't know, if we decide what, and that, I guess that would be the next question, if we decide what we wanna plant, when's the best time to plant it. And we'd have to find somebody to plant it, and I don't know, unless we wanna do a volunteer kind of thing.
Are we talking this year? Are we talking next year?
Well, we had 2 years from, in our permit, from when most of the Phragmites was eradicated, that we had to just see what would come back naturally. So we're probably due to do something. We'll have to see if we, but I don't think anybody's gonna come and police the areas and say, oh, you really need to plant this stuff. But we do have the planting permits,
Right.
so we're all set to do that if we decide what we wanna do. And
Is it in the budget,
we don't have
the
anything,
plants?
no, I don't think we have, well, I don't know if it can be taken out as one of the, I don't think this is gonna be a huge expense.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine you would spend thousands of dollars.
No, I don't think it's gonna be a huge expense.
If we take some from
Oh, yeah, we'll give them Tony's speech, because that's stuff that's
That's growing like
it's
You
growing
didn't
like
plant
crazy.
seed down there?
Huh?
It looks like, yeah, it looks just like
It's-
lawn grass. You didn't plant seed?
Nothing.
Huh.
I mean, okay, so the
They
straight
sprayed,
photograph,
they
yeah.
sprayed the Phragmite disappeared, and in a few months, this stuff appeared.
So,
Can we put it under invasive species control?
Well, yeah,
Because isn't
that's
it-
sure,
Don't
it's
that's all part of that
It's
control,
part of the
but you wanna make sure that it doesn't, that
Right.
you take up that space.
part of the restoration.
Yeah, so anyhow, that's all I've got, and Jenny, anything else?
No, not on the environment.
And you may have, I know you have some contacts through your master gardeners
Yeah,
program,
I'll
so you might
contact
have find some.
We'll take some pictures when we're
Yeah.
out this week, and I'll
Mhm.
send it to them
Okay.
and see what their suggestion is.
Okay,
Try to get an idea of how wide the area is,
yes,
so they can let us know how many plants we're gonna need,
yeah.
so we can get an idea of how much it's gonna
Yeah,
cost.
and we want something that may spread some but not become a pest.
Mhm.
invasive. So I don't know what that's gonna be, we don't wanna make a new problem for ourselves, so. But that's all I've got, and I guess, anything else, Lauren?
Okay. All right. Maggie, do you have anything on safety?
Yeah, I'll talk with Gary, and we are gonna come to the office Monday at 1, just to take a look at the room and see what's what, and look at supplies, and I'd like to implement an inventory sheet, because he said he didn't believe there was one. So I think that's needed, so things don't walk off, and we don't know if that's gonna walk off.
Jack, you mentioned last time, help with the cameras or something.
Yeah,
I said that would help you, if you give me a call and.
yeah, I s-
They're due anytime.
okay, we should do that this week then. If the weather's nice enough. Really, it's not that big a deal,
No,
just grab a ladder and,
It's tall
make sure you've got
ladder.
that bug spray with you.
that too,
Spiders, was it spiders?
yeah. I was attacked one time.
Really?
Like a bunch
By
of
spiders.
They just
Oh, yeah.
hatched.
It was pretty gross.
They may be natives,
Yeah,
You didn't kill them, did you?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. My best day probably is Friday.
Okay, sounds good, let's do it.
Okay. Give me a, shoot me a message or a call or something. Tell me when you want to do it.
Okay.
Okay. Welcoming, yeah.
Janet and Asha assembled 3 buckets, I guess, last week and a half ago, which left me 4 on hand, of which I have 1 left.
Wow.
So,
busy time.
yeah, it's a
That can help.
very busy time. I sent out 5 letters to newcomers. I have others, but I'm hesitant to send any out saying, hey, come on in and get your gift. You can fight over it.
Highest bidder.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah.
And Cindy has requested additional buckets as well from Ace, but I haven't had an answer. I think she said the other day, it's coming up on, the time period when we can expect their response. So if she hadn't heard anything by a certain date, she was gonna get back in touch with them. So, that's it.
Okay. All right, I'll just give you an update on planning the beach erosion. I got a modification of the plan and drawing from Scott Hardaway that moved the spur off of the Edinger property and onto ours, and a little bit of difference. And then he's suggesting, because of money and because of can't get any cooperation at all from the club, that we may want to just consider doing the spur only, which would be on the north end of the beach, and then bring sand in behind that and let that fill in. So he's got one more iteration to do on that. That was part of the original two-task $10,000 thing. So what I did is put, basically, I don't know exactly what it's gonna be, he'll invoice us when he's done, but, so I just put that $2,000 into the budget to complete that. And then the next task is, was $5,000, which to me seemed like a lot, but I dug into it today. It's basically for the, what they call the joint permit application process. It's not the county, this is the state, MDE, and the Corps of Engineers. And it's a joint application process. It's kind of long and drawn out. And there's a fee schedule that's like 2 pages. It can go anywhere from free to $5,000 or something, you know, depending on the breadth of your project and, you know, how big it and what it covers and whether it's shore erosion control, you know, just all kinds of stuff in there. So we really don't know what that is. He put that in as a placeholder, probably figuring that we could probably have some kind of a nominal permit fee in the, I would guess, $1,500 to $2,000 range. And then his time putting all that together. He'll actually do the application process for us. He's also continuing to bug the guy that we sent the loan application to.
Oh, good.
And he's gonna keep him updated on the plans that he's providing to us, and we'll see if that helps any on that end. But, now, I put $5,000 into the budget, so a total of $7,000 for beach erosion. Now, the $5,000, I look at that as being, you know, if the budget's approved, we'd have the authority to do it. But I think, I don't know that we're at the point yet of saying we're ready for permits. I think we need to have more review and discussion about what's being proposed. The biggest worry I have is my buddy Kurt, who is a coastal geologist and knows what he's talking about. But, and so he will, I'm sure will say, well, we shouldn't do this. And I'll say, but Kurt, look at the pictures, it works. And so we'll fight about that. And I don't know how that's all gonna come out. You know, and then you'll have our friend Robert
Yeah.
will stand up and say that in Brooklyn this didn't work. And so, you know,
And it doesn't last forever, so
Right.
let's never pave a road,
Right.
don't build a house.
And to
so anyway,
the projections, I mean, there are varying projections on this subject. It's not like if there's one hard and fast rule.
right.
And
I mean,
Kurt
it's-
has his one projection that he favors.
Yeah, and there's, I mean, he's got, there is sound scientific theory and modeling behind what he's done, but it all depends on orientation, and there's a whole bunch of variables that go into this, to model it and to prepare to protect it. So, you know, we gotta weigh those together. Anyway, so my thought is we get the permit process in the budget, get it approved, so if we're ready to start it, we can pull the trigger on the permits. The permits are good for 3 years, the state and Corps. So Scott recommends that once we feel comfortable enough with the plan, is to go ahead and start the permit process, because we'll have 3 years. And that would cover a multitude of sins, I think. It could be modified and stuff down upstream. But if you don't start it, then you're behind the power curve.
So the sand that's gone backfill, where is that coming from?
That's brought in.
I think there are many people that believe that what we are proposing will take away from the beach on the club side.
Well, that's, yeah, I mean, that's part of what has to be looked at, and the club ultimately will probably have some say in it. I just wish they would get a little more involved with us, and,
Do they tell you why they aren't interested, or
Well,
can you tell?
no,
Money from what we're.
money, I think she's worried that they'll never be able to afford something like this. But then there may be things like this, no interest financing, that maybe they can take advantage of too, so, I don't know, I mean, until we start sitting down and talking about it.
So is there a portion of this, if it came down to this, that the club would have to sign a permit and we would have to sign permit
Well,
as well?
I haven't gone through this level of permitting, so I don't know at what point they would say, what are the, do we need an adjacent landowner approval? Or would that wait till you got to the county level? I don't know. That's all part of the discovery.
The other part of this, I don't, is the club truly a lost cause for us? I mean, that they'll never come around? Or are we only hearing the voices of the 3, 4, 5 people that are dead set against it? If push comes to shove, for example, I don't see the decision for the beach being made by the people in this room. I think it has to be send out a ballot to everybody in the community.
Right.
Everybody that lives here has to say something. Does not the board have to do the same, or the club board, shouldn't the club board do the same thing with their membership? Or is it just the 5 people that sit in the room together?
I don't know.
Well, the membership, do you have to be an owner or whatever in Drop Point? So that is,
I think,
Well, but
we are
there's a-
notifying
But
them
there is a difference between the board,
with the perspective of the club. in other
yeah,
words.
with the
Right.
entire membership voting or just the board voting.
Well, I think that, I don't know, I don't know all the bylaws of the club,
Yeah,
but I would guess that it's only the shareholders that can vote. It's not some of their adjunct members or associate members or whatever class they call those.
But I'm asking, would all the members be required to vote, or would the board alone make the
I
decision?
don't know, I've never had anything brought,
I don't know.
since I've been a shareholder of there, I've never had anything come to me asking for a membership vote. It's always been, if there's a vote, you show up at a meeting.
Now, have sent out letters to every member and asking them to approve the budget. And then also, there was a thing about buying a tractor and putting
Okay,
in,
well, that's fine,
putting in
I just,
so
I
the membership,
don't
the
remember.
membership had to require that, and then depending on how many voting rights they had, that's the way it was
Yeah.
calculated, whether it was a go or no go.
Well, we'll continue to, I'll continue to work with them to try to, get some kind of dialogue.
And especially if there's no interest. long
But-
term.
Yeah.
Why did we decide not to cooperate with our neighbor with the jetty or whatever it's called?
Well, we're trying to cooperate, but
Oh,
there's,
but you moved it over, or?
well, what he wanted to do is sort of go straight off of his property, which would then leave us really high and dry. Where this one is canted more
I
towards
see,
our
okay.
property.
Enough said, thank you very
So
much.
then the argument is, well, is this doing what he wants? Well, I think he'll end up benefiting from it.
Yeah, but is he willing then to modify what he wanted to do
I
and
don't know.
split
But
costs?
does he need our approval, because we own the beach, community beach, to do what he wants to do?
I think he would, but we
So
haven't, we've never
so
seen
that's-
a permit application come through.
But that would give us some leverage.
It would, yeah. And maybe he'll eventually kick in some, I don't know.
Yeah, I think if we could somehow cooperate with him,
Mhm.
it would cut costs, if nothing else.
Well, maybe. Yeah.
and benefit both of us. I don't know.
So anyway, we'll continue chasing the club and see what we can do with that. Okay, so that's it on that. Unfinished business.
I don't think there is one.
Right, new business. Well, I had new business, but then it turned out it was a bad idea.
Exactly.
I called Rita one day and I said, well, you know what? We haven't been able to do community cleanup, but maybe we could do something else. Maybe we could do a beach cleanup. Maybe we could get a dumpster and gather up all that. We could have like a bucket brigade of asphalt chunks
Oh,
and driftwood and whatever else is blossom is laying around down there and clean it up. Well, we can talk more. It turns out the dumpsters were not as easy a deal as I thought it was gonna be, or as cheap, so you,
I called, what's the name from? Amber. They do not rent out construction dumpsters. Their dumpsters are not for construction material, period. I called Evergreen and they never have called me back.
okay.
But on their website, again, they have dumpsters, but their website doesn't specify what can be put into those dumpsters. And that's what I was waiting for, a call from the owner, I guess the owner. I haven't called him, and I guess I could. I called Waste Management, and they do have construction dumpsters. The cost is almost $800, which includes 4 tons of material, and then it's $98 a ton thereafter, and it's a 10-day period of time that it would sit on the property. But when on their website, it was pretty straightforward, like, yes, and we can, here are the sizes, here are the prices, and we can accept concrete and other building materials. So I thought, oh, we're good to go. So when I called and talked with somebody, they said, well, I don't know I'm not sure what website you're looking at. That's not, I think he was dealing with residential maybe. And he switched me to commercial, I suppose. And after 3 or 4 minutes, I got cut off and nobody ever picked up. So but he wasn't sure that asphalt could be put into them. Even though it says concrete, I would think, I know it's different, I understand,
But
but
the other thing is removing that asphalt
we weren't gonna,
before we,
no, I don't think that was your idea, Mike.
or just
No, that
picking
wasn't-
loose pieces?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh.
okay, so
Yeah,
I'll finish that, but, so we don't know a whole lot about the dumpsters, except they're not cheap,
no.
and there may be limits on what we can put in them.
And we don't know if we
And
can
no
use them.
tree debris, no tree debris.
Oh, no tree debris.
Well, they said
No
no.
tree,
Because see, that-
No
vegetation is
vegetation,
in.
yeah.
That puzzles me a little bit, because I see dumpsters, construction dumpsters, and I see them throwing every manner of everything in them.
Well, maybe it's
So-
a difference between what they tell you and what the guy
What they
takes it
do.
away.
I know, we use Waste Management, and they're a pain, like the customer service is bad, and, yeah.
They're all bad. So anyway, back to Tony, what my thought was, and this is based on maybe a visit to the beach a month ago or whatever, when I went there and there was nothing but, the whole line of the beach was littered with chunks of asphalt, and it was just a mess. Now, that was my idea, this, was, if you get a bucket brigade of
Yeah,
community people, you leave it down there for a
the
week,
little ones, yeah.
and you tell people, hey, come down and pick up a piece of asphalt.
Yeah.
Donate it to the dumpster.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
turn it into a pet,
Right.
doesn't need much.
Yeah. So that was my thought. Well, so I go down there, I guess yesterday. There's, other than that one slab of asphalt that's part of the old road bed right up at the beginning of the beach, there's no asphalt. Where's sand?
Well, it's under there.
It's under there somewhere.
Yeah, well,
But,
that's the old
So-
what day of the week.
It's hard to protect when
so
it's
anyway,
covered,
I think this is probably gonna go by the wayside, unless we get, I don't know. It would have to be target of opportunity, wait for a big storm, clear out the sand, go in there and scavenge up the asphalt. I think it's worth doing,
Oh,
but,
yeah, yeah.
it's just, but anyway,
Right.
so that was it. Any other new business or
I
any
have-
other?
I have something. I have started a Drum Point Neighborhood Facebook group page.
Oh, good for you.
And well, I just started it today.
Well, I'm
and
just
not
saying,
quite
I
sure I know what I'm
messed up
doing,
so
but,
badly when I did it.
I'm surprised that there's not one. And I just put a disclaimer that it's not affiliated with the DPPOA, I just wanna let y'all know.
Okay.
And it's just a place for people to post local events, ask for, if somebody needs a babysitter or something like that.
Are you gonna be the
Moderator, yeah.
Thank you for doing
So it's called Drum Point Neighborhood Lusby, Maryland, if anybody wants to
Okay.
search and join, I'm looking for as many members as
Yeah,
possible.
all right.
And I'm only gonna allow people that live in Drum Point, so,
Did you also have a disclaimer about the club?
no, it
You
didn't.
might wanna do that too.
Okay, I'll do that.
Uh, That way people won't be bugging you about club stuff.
Yeah.
That's true.
We have a neighborhood listserv in Bethesda where I live, and what the moderator there asks when somebody posts something, that they put their name and their street. They don't have their
That's what I'm
address,
gonna ask,
because
yes.
you don't know who's,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have
Yeah.
confirmation,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. they don't have to put their whole address or anything like that, but just the name and the street.
Mhm.
And then you may have already thought about it, but you wanna think about the restrictions you wanna put on it,
Oh.
Mhm.
like advertisers
I
and
did,
things like that.
I
you know.
did put it on there, so
And
when
and
you'll see.
politics and stuff like that, because that's our
What?
listserv, politics and stuff.
Yeah,
We just
yeah.
want really informational stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
I did, I kinda copied what we have in our neighborhood magazine.
Oh, okay, so,
So-
yeah, that's
So
possible.
I figured that one works really well,
Well,
so.
I think then what I would do is, on the one that, the Facebook page that I created, which was really just a Facebook page, it wasn't for a community. I didn't know you could do that at the time. And it's just got all manner of things on it. And I get notifications, somebody posted a picture, and somebody, and somebody wants to be friends.
It's out of control?
A little bit, so I think
Yeah.
what I'd like to do is put a message saying, this is now available. Somebody that knew what they were doing, did it the right way.
No, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Well,
I just started about an hour ago, you know.
Oh. Maybe it's the right way. No, once you get out,
I do have a couple
and I'll
people that
direct them to you,
in
I'll
group,
direct them
so.
to your page.
Yeah.
And then I think I would like to shut this one. down.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't need
Yeah,
to know
no
that
point, no.
somebody posted a
Right.
picture of their lunch.
Oh,
And Facebook is,
Yeah,
it can be abused,
Yeah.
horribly abused.
and
Yeah.
you can't depend on Facebook for official
Oh,
No.
assistance either,
No.
so
no.
you're better off
This
just,
is good.
so give me about a week
Okay.
and, ask to join it if you want to, and then if you have neighbors that you think might be interested, because I'd like to
Okay.
grow it, so. What's it called?
What's it called, drum like what?
Drum Point Neighborhood, Lusby, Maryland.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, can I ask, this is really not new business, well, I guess it's old business, but I didn't think of it. We've been kind of harping on that beach access down at the end of that surf, where
Yeah,
where it's
so,
all kind of broken up. Is that still on the to-do list of whoever we have doing, to throw
Well,
some saccharine in there?
Joe did put some saccharine into one of them. Sure.
Another one,
Well, then it's another one, maybe.
at the end of surf.
Yeah, that's where it was.
There was-
Well,
And he put stones in it.
it's still not,
I need to go down and look
you
at it.
gotta take a look,
Yes.
it's not sufficient.
But he did do one, I know,
Okay.
because I bought
But
the
it's, but
saccharine,
it's
he
not
might pick
sufficient.
it up, so
I
it's
think
more.
it's gonna mean a lot more.
Are you talking about those?
Like
The
near
well
Ben's
rings,
property.
yeah.
Well rings?
Yeah.
Right near Ben Boo's property, it's
Yeah.
still a big decline where you could step and hurt yourself.
Yeah.
No, I put rock in there.
Yeah, but it really needs to be kind of level or
Or even.
Well,
before you, yeah, it's just a tripping, kind of like
Yeah.
a break your leg
I know,
hazard.
I would look very carefully.
I know.
We've got the dogs. and-
Yeah, I know, it's not really a
but
good
if you
access.
watch your dog carefully. Chico has fallen off of there twice.
Oh, really?
Once when he was a lot
And into
younger,
the
and
water.
once a
There's like a-
couple of months ago.
Well, there's actually, Finn, my dog,
Yeah. I knew that.
his paw went in, there's like a little hole
Isn't
forming
there-
on one side
Yeah,
where the
yeah.
sand is going
Right,
in.
right near
Yeah,
fence.
like, he
Well,
ran.
that's where I put
But it's not,
several big rocks in
yeah, but
there.
it needs to be something that,
Well, maybe Joe can put,
yeah, it
More
just needs to be,
saccharine.
it needs to be,
no, I don't think that would work.
it needs to
You
be
you
level.
gotta put something base in.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
other words,
Little
the concrete
rocks,
can't
bags
stand
of
in the air.
rocks.
Yeah,
Little
Well,
rocks.
gravel, yeah.
Pea,
gravel or something.
pea gravel or small,
But then it needs to be,
that can work
have
its way.
saturated over the top, so it's
Mhm.
smooth and you're
Yeah.
not,
But if you try that, you're gonna be saccreting up against sand.
Well,
And
yeah,
eventually-
well, the Mendo's property is there too, I mean, that's not all sand. Her property, she got a fence there that's kind of.
Have Joe look at it and see
Alright,
what, because I think if he puts, you know, a bag of stone, fairly small stone in there, it'll filter down in amongst the big rocks.
Right,
That should produce, because I probed down in there, and it's solid,
is it?
it's not,
but it's way down, and it's a big dip, and it's a hazard.
I filled it with rock.
Oh, I'm sure you did, no doubt about it, but I'm just saying, the way we're using it now, I mean, both of us are finding it.
Well, it'll get more, used to with the upcoming
Oh,
weather.
you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I mean, we know what to look for,
Yes.
the people
Yes,
that,
yes,
don't,
it's really-
will-
It's really not, it's
Yeah.
not,
Are we gonna have Coney Island again?
I think so, I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah, I think that's,
anything else?
I told Rhea last week, I called her, there were, some kids who, threw like reflectors into,
Joe, go ahead.
and he got them out, he got 3 of them out, there's still one, there. Yeah, and it probably just depends on the water level, like sometimes you can see it and sometimes you can't, but so there's still one in there.
What's a reflector?
You know where, the road that goes by the causeway, the bay's on one side and the lake is on the other, and the road narrows a little bit, and there were four reflectors right there, just so that cars
in nighttime, especially.
don't drive into the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so last week, some kids took them and threw them in
Oh, my gosh.
the water. The reflectors, yeah, and they were kind of
Yeah, they're just
floating.
on it's on a pole, just
Yeah,
like,
it's
a
like
red.
a red.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were, you could see like some of the red parts bobbing
So
out,
the
yeah.
pole is still there, it's just they pulled the reflectors off?
No, they took the whole pole
Poles
down.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And so Joe came and he got 3, like one of them you probably couldn't see, because when the water went out, you didn't see that one. But I
Did he put them back up?
yeah, the ones he got, yeah, he put back up, so there's still one in the water. But, I have a different question.
Electrifying.
So a couple of times, and I just want a suggestion of, like, should we say anything or not say anything? But a couple of times, like on Fridays, trucks will go on the other side of Lake Charming on Laurel, Laurel dips down, and go fishing, and there's like actually a no parking sign right there. But sometimes you'll see like big trucks park right there. Sometimes they park, they don't even try to pull to the side, they're like in the road.
I had somebody else complain.
Yeah, and so, and they're there for several hours. Like one time we went
Call
out
the
for
sheriff's,
dinner,
call the sheriff's
called the
office.
sheriff's office.
Especially if they're blocking the street.
Yeah, and so we were coming down and we had to kind of go around, but at that point, when you get down, you don't know if there's no
Right,
car.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Call the
it was
sheriff's
actually really
department.
dangerous, yeah.
And tell, and stress, this is dangerous.
Yeah,
It's
when we
just
came-
inconvenient,
Right.
it's a danger.
Yeah, and when we
And
came
they'll
back,
take
they were
it.
still, like 4 hours later,
Yeah.
this truck was still like almost in the middle, I mean, they were to the side, but not really to the side, they were really taking
Sheriff
out.
had plenty of time.
Were
to
they
get
working
it.
somewhere or were they fishing?
They were fishing.
They're fishing.
And they were, first he was fishing with his daughter, and then we came back, he had like 5 buds there, guys, but they were there for like 4 or 5 hours. And
Well, the
walking
sheriffs,
that
they
road.
always say, well, we have to witness it.
Yeah,
4 or 5 hours, it
They
seems
should
to
be
me
able to
that's
get
plenty of
there.
time for them to get there, respond,
Right.
and write a ticket.
yeah, and that's not the first time,
I
it's
know.
like on Friday nights, it seems like the spot to go fishing. Which, I mean, I don't mind the fishing, but it's just like, it's dangerous.
Especially if
Yeah.
it's light later, it's
Yeah,
gonna be even.
yeah. So. And Eric was actually gonna say something, I was like, no, I don't wanna like
No, I wouldn't.
start
No,
a,
I wouldn't.
yeah.
I'm gonna do it now.
yeah, that's what I said, it's not worth it,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, call the sheriff. Anything else? All right, the next normal date for a meeting would be the 1st of June. Everybody, can people handle that? Okay.
That's not Memorial Day weekend, is it?
No, I think it's.
Memorial Day's,
Oh, that would be,
No,
yeah, cause
That's
Memorial Day is Monday,
Monday.
the day before the 1st.
right.
Right.
Oh,
Hmm, let's
that's
do the
Memorial, that is Memorial Day
Yeah.
weekend.
Can we do it the
Is that
following
what
week?
Is that when it's being celebrated?
Yeah, Memorial Day is Monday the 31st.
No,
Asha didn't get
Are people,
all the,
people taking a long, extra long weekend or
I
something?
don't, she didn't even get the
I'm not,
procedure.
somebody.
Well,
Well, I'm flying in policy.
I think I got the balance sheet and the budget.
I'll get one for you.
And she didn't get this one.
I'm good with
Seven,
I'm good
seven.
with the first.
She didn't get
Yeah,
this.
let's do it
Right,
first
right,
and
Okay.
get it out of the way.
I'll have to get you a copy of the policy. Here's the
Okay.
budget.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's clean, I don't think I.
Okay,
Okay.
All right,
barring anything else, we'll adjourn the meeting.
Want to go into a-
Yeah, we're gonna-
baskets next time you do it.
Sure.
Yes.
We need
Yeah, I
to-
guess we just have, we're waiting on the buckets, right? That's the main thing for the locking committee. So whenever Cindy can get the buckets, I think then we can do the baskets.
Sure.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, that'd be good.
The officers.
Now that we have a real email address for you.
Well, actually, it's
Yeah,
gonna change.
Again?
Yeah, I set up a Yahoo account. I'm done with my
Can we?
iCloud. It's still working right now, but
I am prepared.
So are we still like set for June first or are we doing it the following?
yes, June 1st, here, 7 o'clock.
is it, Rhea, is it just the officers or the whole board?
It's been the board.
Huh?
It's been the board.
Oh, it's the whole board?
The whole board?
I don't remember,
What?
for an executive session.
Oh, okay, I've just been, there's been 4 of us in the past.
Oh, is it?
We have had executive sessions with 4 people. Yes, it was just Gary, I mean, I remember it was 4
I don't
people.
think you're gonna find it.
And we went into the room there and, so I don't know, I don't think that's true.
I think.
The last one was
At the
upstairs
church.
on the
Yeah,
floor.
we were all there.
They were all.
That was
Yeah,
everyone.
okay, well, I don't
Yeah,
know.
that was everyone.
Okay, well, I don't
I
care.
don't
I don't care,
Yeah.
but an executive session, I think we should do for the officers.
Well,
That
not
would
always.
make sense.
Yeah, it need not
It
be.
depends on the purpose of it.
Yeah.
And
Well, why don't we just have the whole board this time? We can kick Rhea out, she can go catch a cigarette outside.
right.
If she
I get
runs,
wet.
if she runs fast, she can catch a
You
cigarette.
can't quit.
Did you say, wait a minute, did you say you're a smoker?
No.
I don't know, you know,
Now,
fake news, Tony is making, causing news.
Okay.
For right now, she
Let's
is.
just say you.
Yeah, right now she is, she's gonna go catch a lot.
Gonna get a breath of fresh air, a breath of fresh air.
I don't know, would have brought you a cigar.
And a glass of scotch. I was gonna say a brandy or something.
Oh, yeah.
Something to go with that.
Additional meetings may be called by the president or requested 3 directors, so I consider this an additional